Hi everyone, my name is Nancy and I am So Cozy Stitching on Flosstube and on Instagram. And this is Mac and we are here for another Flosstube video. I'm in a different location. I'm in my sewing room, but I'm in my stitching chair. And I have two stitching chairs, this one in my sewing room, and then I have one out in the living room where I sit and stitch and watch TV. So we'll see how well behaved my puppy is. I may have to pause this video and put him in another room. We'll see. Anyway, today is February 15th, 2021. Probably by the time this video is uploaded, it will be the 16th. I changed internet companies, and actually they showed up on the day I made my last video. And with my old company, I could upload a video and still like watch TV, or the grandkids could be on their tablets or whatever. With this, but they had a limit on how much data you can use. Well, they were starting to send me notices saying I'm getting really close to the end of my data at the end of the month. And so I looked into another internet company that has unlimited data, and they were actually $30 cheaper. So when kids can stream, or we can stream on the TV, the kids can be on their tablets, they can play Xbox Live, and anyway, no problems. But the downside is I can't upload a video and watch TV or whatever, because we stream all of our TV. So anyway, what it was doing was it was kicking me out of my TV. So on the last video, I ended up loading it or uploading it. I started it just before I went to bed, and by the time I got up the next morning, it was uploaded. So I'll record the videos, and like today I'm recording it tonight. Before I go to bed, I'll start it on the upload, so you will see it tomorrow. Anyway, so in my last video, I had offered this as a giveaway, Miss Baxter's house. And how you were to enter is just to ask me a question. So I thought what I would do is just do a Q&A video and answer all those questions. Normally when somebody asks me a question, I'll just answer them in the comments because I don't get that many questions. But where I had so many, it would have been just too hard to answer everybody in the comments. So I gave everybody a heart. So you know I read the comments, and I always read the comments, and I will always leave a heart. Anyway, so I thought I would just do a Q&A video and answer those questions. And so I'll be talking a little bit about cross stitch, a little bit about quilting, a little bit of other things mixed into there. I'm not going to do like a full update where I show you everything I've worked on. I'll do that at the end of the month. I'll do an update video. But I do have some cross stitch to show you and some things I want to share with you. So let's get started. So I divided the questions into 3 categories. One is just like a general category. They weren't cross stitch related. They weren't quilting related. Then I have a category of all the cross stitch questions are together, and then all of the quilting questions are together. So we'll start with the general questions, then we'll go to cross stitch, and then we'll go to quilting. And then at the very end, I will announce the winner. So first question, someone asked, where would I visit when I can leave the state? When I can leave my state? There's a lot of places I want to go. I'm not much of a traveler. I like to go places, but I also like to be home. And where my husband drives and is gone for his job, when he gets home, we like to be home. And because he doesn't get to be home very often. So But every summer we do go to, his family has a family cabin in Utah. So we go there and spend a week every summer. Um, my quilting retreat that I go to is in Utah also. So I go to it. Um, in April, we're going to Utah. My husband's family is from Utah. Um, we'll go there. We're going to go there for a wedding. His niece is getting married in April, and so we're going to go down to her wedding. I don't know if I'm going to go to my quilt retreat this year. They had sent out a thing saying that registration opened March 1st. I'm already registered because I just had them roll mine over from last year, or from 2020, when we didn't get to go to the retreat. So I'm already registered. But then the other day they sent out a notice through the email saying that registration isn't going to open until April 15th. And on the 15th, they're going to make a decision, or a day or two before. They're going to make a decision whether they're going to have the retreat in June, as usual, or if they're going to cancel it. So if they have it, registration will be opened on the 15th. If they cancel it, they will let us know on the 15th. So anyway, of April. So I don't even know about that one yet. So another question. I had a couple of questions about my puppy. He is a Shih Tzu. Someone asked what breed of dog he was. He is a Shih Tzu. And someone asked how old he was. He is 6 years old. We got him 5 years ago in March, and he was a year old when we got him. So no potty training. Go me. I don't know if I have the patience to potty train a puppy. Um, so yeah, and he's a really sweet dog. He's really gentle with my grandkids, and we couldn't ask for a better dog. We were blessed when we got him. Someone asked if my grandson enjoyed his birthday party and the pizza. When I filmed my last video, I had said that it was his birthday and we were going to go for pizza that night. We did. There was him and his cousin and a friend and his brother, and then his mom and his mom's friend, and my husband and myself. And we went to a place. It's kind of a buffet style place, but rather than going up to the buffet and getting your pizzas, they actually bring the pizza to your table, and they, they have a huge variety, and they have dessert pizzas, and um, anyway, it's really good, and they have um, a really good salad bar too. And I'm not much of a salad bar eater, but if it's a good one, a really good one, then I will usually have a salad also. And they had an arcade there, and I think that's probably why he wanted to go there, even though he says he wanted to go for the pizza. But anyway, it was fun. We had a lot of fun. Um, then I was asked what state I live in. I live in the state of Idaho. I have lived in Idaho my entire life. I was born in Oregon, and I was adopted at birth, and my adoptive parents brought me back to Idaho, and this is where I've lived my entire life. Then someone asked me if I've ever been to Cape Cod. No, I have not. They were from Cape Cod, and they had wanted to know if I had ever visited there. I have been back east one time, and we went to North Carolina, and that's where my brother-in-law and sister-in-law at the time lived, in North Carolina, and then we went down to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. So that's all. That's as far back east, or that's the only time I've ever been back east. When I was little, like 3, 4 years old, I don't know if I remember this because I remember it, or if I remember it because my parents told me about it. If that makes sense. Anyway, but my dad was out of town working in Kansas, and for a couple of months pouring concrete. And so my mom and I went on a train and went and saw him for, I don't know how long we were there. I think a couple of weeks, maybe. And like I said, I remember it. I like slightly remember being on that train, but I don't know if it's a memory because I actually remember it or if it's a memory because I've been told it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so let's get into the cross stitch. Um, okay, so someone asked me why I have not started Miss Baxter's house. Good question. I don't know, just because I haven't. But, excuse me, runny nose, as usual. Um, I do plan on starting it this year. It's on my list of starts. Um, and tentatively in June is when I have it wrote down to start it. So anyway, so if anybody wants to stitch it with me, I would love for you to join me. I haven't decided on the exact date, and like I said, it's tentatively in June. I don't know. That's just kind of, if I could pick a date to start it, that's when I'm going to start it, I guess. I kind of went through my whips that I want to start this year, and or my kitted up things that I want to start this year, and um, June is when I wrote it in. So if you want to stitch it with me, we could do a sal. We could do a hashtag and everything. I've never hosted that type of a sal. Anyway, and if the winner wants to stitch it then with us too, that'd be great. So let me know. Someone asked me, well, actually I had quite a few ask me how I stitch so fast, how many hours a day I stitch, and how do I get so much done? Well, I don't think I stitch very fast. I used to be a really fast stitcher, and the older I've gotten, the slower I've gotten. So I don't think I'm a fast stitcher. Um, as far as how many hours I stitch, I I get up in the morning. I'm not a morning person, and so when I get up in the morning, I'm not one that can just like quickly start my day. Um, so that's when I do my morning stitch. And I'll usually just go and put a floss tube maybe that has, popped up in my feed overnight or whatever, and I'll sit and watch it and I'll stitch. So I stitch between 30 minutes to an hour in the mornings. And then in the evenings, I have all evening to stitch. My husband's not home. I don't so I don't cook. I don't, I usually just like I'll heat leftovers up or do a really quick meal. I don't really have to cook a meal because there's no one here to eat it but me. And so I can get a lot of stitching done. I can probably get 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours of stitching at night. Just depends on how tired I am getting further into the night. Sometimes my eyes get tired and so I stop, like about 9 o'clock or whatever, but sometimes I stitch till 11. So I get between 4 to 7 hours a day in a stitching. I usually quilt during the day, and I will get into that when I get to the quilting part. But and then when my husband is home, still in the evenings when our day is done and we sit down after dinner's done and I get things cleaned up, I can probably stitch. I'll probably stitch 2 or 3 hours in the evenings when he's home. So, what else? Someone asked, when did I learn to stitch and how long have I been stitching? So I taught myself how to stitch. I don't know how this magazine came in the mail to me, but I ended up with a magazine in the mail, and it was a cross stitch and country craft magazine. And I was flipping through it. I don't know if like somebody has sent me a free issue. I don't know how I got this because I've never ordered it, so I don't know how I got it in the mail. But it had my name on it, so it wasn't like misdelivered. Anyway, I was flipping through it and I thought this would be kind of fun. I had a son My husband at the time worked swing shifts, so he'd go to work at 4 and come home at midnight. And so in the evenings, when I would put my son to bed, I had, I had probably 4 hours that I could stitch. And so I went down to Joann's and I bought all the DMC. I picked out a project out of the magazine. I Trust me, it wasn't the easiest project, especially for a first time project. But I thought I can do this. I am going to learn how to do this. So I went down, picked all the DMC for the project. I got 14 count white Ada, and that I taught myself to stitch. I just kind of followed. They had a little there was a direction in the magazine. There was a section of the magazine that like showed you how to cross stitch, and that's how I learned how to cross stitch. And so I've been stitching probably for 30 plus years now. Someone asked, what other forms of needlework do I do? Well, I've embroidered, not very well, but I have done it. um, I want to do wool applique. I've done a little bit of wool applique, and I have a ton of kits that are wool applique. And so I know how to do it, but I really don't know if I'm doing it correctly or not. I guess it really doesn't matter as long as I like it, right? So I want to show you. So I bought this book. It's called Wool, Needle, and Thread, the go-to guide for wool stitchery. I belong to a Facebook group, and I think somebody asked for wool applique, and somebody had asked for a good book for a beginner, and this was brought up. And then I've seen a couple of Flosstubers who also do wool applique that have shown this book. And I had an Amazon gift card that I got for Christmas in 2019. And so I bought this book. And I am going to say, if you want to learn how to wool applique, this is the book you need. It shows you different stitches. Like there's like tons of different stitches. Fly stitch, feather stitch, colonial knots, cross stitch, stem stitch, blanket stitch. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of stitches in here. So this is my bag. I just put this together this year because I want to have a bag with my wool applique in it. So it's always ready to go. So I can just, if I pull it out here or if I grab it to take with me to, stitch in the car or whatever. So I belong to this, or at the time, this was not last year, but the year before. This is how I got all my wool kits, is I belonged to a Mat of the Month club through Shabby Fabrics online. And I have 12 months worth of mats, and then I also did the candle mat ones too. So this was one of them. This was the one for January. Now I did one and it had leaves on it. I think it was maybe October's or November's, I'm not sure. And I have showed that on a video that I made it. It looks okay to me. So I thought, okay, so I got that one done, and I thought, okay, I'm going to pull one out so I have one for winter. So I pulled this one out. And I did actually got quite a bit done on this one. So I fused all the mittens on using a fusible heat and bond. And I have blanket stitched around quite a few of the mittens. So I thought, okay, this year my goal is to do is to wool applique, do wool applique. And I'm going to learn it. I'm going to learn it through the stitches. You know, I've bought the stuff. I need to do it. So I pulled this out and I'm going to finish it. And also, I was on a wool applique group and they showed this quilt, and it's a wool applique quilt. So the applique is wool, and then it's on the back of the quilt is flannels. So you put the wool on the flannel. You fuse it onto the flannel, and then you wool applique it. And so this pattern is from Primitive Gatherings, and it's called Live a Thankful Life. And they did it as a block of the week, I think last summer, I think. And someone has showed their mostly completed kit, and I was just blown away. It was gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. And I'm like, and then someone mentioned that they're doing a block of the month with it. So I went onto Primitive Gatherings website and I signed up for the block of the month. So my full intentions, this is what my intentions were at the time, is every month I got the block, I was going to prep the block. No matter what, I was going to get the block prepped. That way, it's all ready to go, and I can just sit down and do the applique on it, right? So the first month came, which is this block, and the quilt is all fall related. So there's this turkey block. There's a block that has a barn in it. I don't have a picture of the full quilt, or I'd show it to you, but there was a block that has a barn in it, a block that has an apple tree in it. I think there's a block with a scarecrow, and a block with an old truck. Anyway, so I got the first kit, and I was all gung-ho about this, right? Okay, so I got the first kit. I got all the wool applique pieces cut out, and I fused them onto my background fabric. Good intentions, right? That's as far as I got. So in 2019, I'm going to work on this quilt. Will I get it done? Probably not. But I'm going to do what I can. And if it takes me 2 years, it takes me 2 years. If it takes me 5 years, it takes me 5 years to do this quilt. But I'm going to finish it. And it's gorgeous. My lighting is not that great, but trust me, it's gorgeous. The colors are really just really rich colors. And yeah. So the answer to your question is I'm going to learn wool applique this year. I'm going to not be intimidated by it, and I'm going to learn it. So you'll see my progress throughout the year on that. All right. Next, someone asked me if I stitch in hand. No, I do not. I use a hoop or a Q-snap, and just depending on the project, depends if I use a hoop or a Q-snap. I don't have a preference one over the other. They are both fine for me. It just depends on the project. I did try to stitch in hand one time, and I have before, but I didn't do the sewing method. But it hurt my fingers, and I don't know if I'm just not holding the fabric right or what, but it didn't hurt my hand, but it hurt my fingers. They would cramp up. Someone asked if I dye my fabric frequently. Just depends. If I have something I want to start and I don't have the right kind of fabric, then I try to dye my fabric to make it the color I want. When I dye my fabric, I don't do it how everybody, how they say to do it, or that some tutorials have shown to do it. I don't add salt to mine. I don't add vinegar. and I don't bake it. Um, I use hot water, straight hot water, and I will pour the dye in. Sometimes I measure, sometimes I don't. And I just stir it up really good, or sometimes I put it in a bottle and I'll shake it really good. And then I take my fabric and get it good and wet, and that washes the sizing out of it. And then depending on how mottled I want it, I'll scrunch it up a lot or just a little bit in a glass bowl. And then I'll just, a lot of times what I will do is I'll take a spoon and pour some of the dye onto the spoon and then just pour it onto a corner of the fabric. And it'll kind of give me an idea if I need to add more dye to make it a darker color, or if I needed to add more water to dilute it because it's too dark. And then I just pour a little bit on it, kind of squish it down in there so that it gets good and soaked with it. I don't leave it in there for very long. I mean, I stay right there and watch it. And then I will pull it out frequently and see if it needs more. And if it does, I put it in, pour some more on it. When I'm all done and it gets the color I want, then I take it and rinse it with cold water and just squeeze it out and rinse it and squeeze it until the water runs clear. And then I will usually just take it outside and hang it up and let it dry till it's just damp, but not wet, but not dry, just between right damp. I don't know how to explain it. And then I bring it in and I iron it, and it kind of dries it out the rest of the way and gets the wrinkles out. But I don't ever bake mine. The cold water seems to set it. Um, you know, I've never had a problem with it, like getting onto anything. I don't know, and I've done it that way for years. So that's just my method. Um, Not the recommended method, just how I do it. So full disclosure, if you do it, I'm not a professional dyer. This is just how I do it, and it works for me. Okay, someone asked about my floss storage. I bobbinate all my DMC, and I don't pull flosses from one project to use in another. Never do I do that. Each project, each whip that I have going on, and each kitted up project I have has their own floss. So in my storage, what I do is I do have a full set of DMC. Whether they are all in their baggies or not is another story, because some of them could be in projects. So what I do when I kit up a project is I will first go through here and I'll pull out all the bobbinated floss for that project that I have. If I don't have it already on bobbins, then I go into my extra floss storage, which I'll show you in a minute, and I'll pull it from there. And then if I don't have it there, then I'll go and buy some. When I'm done with a project, I immediately file the flosses back into this. I have four of these with all the DMC colors. And because if I don't file them back immediately, they would just pile up and they would never get filed, and then I would just be unorganized. And I like to stay organized. So what I do is I file by color number. So like all of these are 3300s, then I have 3600s, 3700s, 3800s. And I have them all divided like that. And they're all, in each of these, they're all in numerical order. And then I have them in just Ziploc sandwich bag, or Ziploc snack bags. And they fit perfect in these boxes. And then I just took a piece of cardstock, cut it to fit in here. And I started out with putting these stickers on here and then writing the numbers on. And then I thought, why am I doing that? Why not just write them on the cardstock? So some of them have these stickers on them. Most of them just have the numbers written on there. And then my floss, I just put the bobbins in there. So some of them have several bobbins in them, some of them just one, you know, whatever. Anyway, so that's how I store my bobbinated floss. Okay, so then my extra floss, I store in these. I found mine on Amazon. I think they came in a package of 2, but I bought mine like 4 years ago. They're by Iris, and if you go in onto Amazon and type in Iris photo storage, these will come up. I think you can also get these at Joann's. And what they are is they're just this big container, but then these things in here are individuals containers, and they're to store photos is what they're for. I have 3 of these. I have a lot of floss. My daughter also cross stitches, so if she needs a color of floss, she comes over, and I don't let her go through my bobbinated ones, but she can go through these ones. Anyway, inside of them is these little things, and I have them separated by numbers. Like this one is on my white, B5200, and Ecru. And then I have, the next one would be 2, oh, this is 1, this is all my 100s. So anything that's is in the 100 category. And then I have, like, if I have several, let me show you this one. For instance, okay, so then I have this one, and this is like, I have a lot of this. 502, 500, 501, 502, 503 are in here, okay? The next one in the box is this one, which is pretty much the rest of the 500s. Oh, and there's even a 600 in there. Anyway, so just depending on how many I have, you know, floss, like this is full. This only has a few. So anyway, and this has worked out really good for me, the system. I have been using it for about 4 years this way. I do have the book with the DMC colors in it, and it has the real floss in it. So if I'm doing a pattern like I have found with Blackbird Designs, and then with Thy Needle and Thread, because she doesn't give a DMC conversion, that book, I use that book all the time. And because with those 2, because I don't use the overdyed floss, sometimes I do use overdyed floss, but not very often. But because I don't use the overdyed floss, and the DMC doesn't look like the picture, then a lot of times I'll get my book out and I'll go through, you know, the DMC floss to see, okay, this is the one that matches. And anyway, so that's how I do my, when I do my converting of my colors and stuff, if I do that. So it doesn't matter if I can see the floss color or not, because I have that book with the DMC floss in there. Okay, so someone asked me what my favorite stitch is. That is asking me, like, who is my favorite child? I can't give you an answer. Depends on the day. Depends on the day. And I'll tell you, even as adults, it depends on the day. But seriously, I don't have a favorite stitch, because I like everything I stitch. So I thought, okay, so if I was to, my house is on fire, you know, everybody was out, my puppy was out, what's the one cross stitch I would grab and take with me? And I'm going to show you my stockings. And this is the last one I finished. I think when I showed it in my last video, it was, I think I was working, this was done and I was working down here. So I finished down here and then did the border. So this is Richard's stocking by Shepherd's Bush. I have one stocking left, and I have it kitted up, and I'm going to start it, I think this weekend is my plan. And all the boy ones are done. So I was going to let them pick their stocking, but I don't know. I think I might just pick them for them. I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on that. So anyway, I'm going to get started on adding the names. And these are all hanging in my hall closet right now. When I have them all completed as stockings, they will all be together. So like I said, if my house is on fire, these are what I would grab. And when I get all the stockings done and the names on them and get them made into full stockings, I will do a special video with just the stockings. Someone asked what my favorite craft is. I don't have a favorite craft. My two main crafts are quilting and cross stitch, and I don't think I could choose between them because I think I like doing them equally, for different reasons, but I enjoy them both equally. I do have other I do other crafts. You know, like I said, I'm gonna get this wool applique done. But I do have other crafts. You know, if something catches my eye, I'll do it. But those are my two main crafts. Other hobbies besides stitching is quilting. Someone asked the count of fabric for the stockings. I am using 14 count vintage country mocha. I am extending the top border and the heel toe border, you know, bottom, to make it bigger because I want it to be, they're going to be good sized. They're not going to be huge stockings, but they're not going to be tiny stockings either. They're going to be a good sized stocking. Someone asked me if I'd ever do a finishing video. No. Nope. I don't have the setup for it. I'm not good. I don't think I'm good at it. Everything that I finish is, I get my inspiration from other stitchers, people on Instagram. You know, that's where I get my inspiration from, and that's how I finish. Just a lot of times I copy somebody. I'll message them and say, hey, do you care if I duplicate how you finish that piece or whatever? And you know, and then I do give credit where credit is due. But I just don't have the setup to do a finishing video, and there's just too many people that are better at it than I would be. And someone asked the number of projects that have in progress this year. I don't know. I've started a lot. I know going into 2021 I had 23 whips. I have started quite a few things. I have finished a few things, so I don't know. I'm going to say I probably have 25 to 27 whips, I'm guessing. Some of them are active, some of them are not. I got strings all over me from my quilts. I've been picking like 2 or 3 projects that I want to focus on of my whips for the month, and then I've had starts, you know, throughout the month and stuff. So anyway, and that is it for the stitching questions. I have some stitching to show you. These are previous finishes. This is, I'm not sure what it's called. It says Let's Stay Home and Stitch. It's by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I think it came out last June, maybe May, June. I know I finished it in July because I finished it when we were coming home from vacation. I just made it into a little pillow. It is stitched on 18 count vintage country mocha, I believe, using my own thread conversion, but close to the colors that she used. And this right here in the pattern was 1/1, and because I stitch on Ada, I couldn't do the 1/1. Well, you can, but it's really hard. So I just kind of recharted this. It still kind of looks like the picture, but I recharted it. And then I just finished into a pillow. This is where I cut it open. I put some hearts on here, but I need to take and blanket stitch around them. Again, wool applique. And then this is my first time sewing rickrack in, and I'm not sure if I even sewed it in right because I don't know, it's really funky. And then I just used a rusty pin and just put a jute bow on it, and then some little scissors. And then another finish, upside down. This is also by With Thy Needle and Thread. I think it's called I Collect. It did have words down here that said, I think collection or something like that. I left the words off. My own thread conversion. Again, pretty much following the colorway that she charted it, but it's my own colors. And I don't know which colors I used. I just picked them. It's stitched on 14 count vintage country mocha. I got this idea from someone on Instagram, Carolina Stitcher, Faye Rigsby. She had finished one similar to this with the baker's twine and a strawberry, not this charm, but a different strawberry charm. And I had messaged her and asked her if I could replicate it, and she said yes. And then there was a bear, it just looked bare right here, so I just put a piece of antique lace and then put scrapbook paper on the back. And this just sits up on my shelf in my sewing room, propped up against something. And then this is Blackbird Inn by Little House Needleworks. Stitched on 14 count cream color using 2 threads. I used all of the called for DMC, but I didn't necessarily put it in the same spot as the chart because I think this was in black and I changed mine to red, to the same red that the berries were. Just mounted it on mat board with fabric and another mat board with fabric. Added the sunflower and the berries. And then down here, I'm not sure what this is. It's like a twine, just a natural color twine. I just tied around it. And then added a spoon charm and a fork charm. And then covered it with scrapbook paper on the back. And I just have this sitting on an easel on my bookshelf. And the idea for this one also came from an Instagram friend. I think it's her Instagram is Kay's Stitching Corner. She has some amazing stitches on there. Anyway, and I stitched this last year also. All right, now what's next? Okay, I'm going to show you just a couple of things that I've started in the last couple of days. So I had a Valentine's Day start, and I'm doing this as a stitch along with Annie B's Folk Art and Kim Goldman on Instagram and Flosstube. It's called When Flowers Blossom by With Thy Needle and Thread. And this is my start. Whoops, I got stuff stuck to my needle. There's my start. So this is just one day of stitching. Her apron. So the color I chose is, okay, so let me start with the fabric. The fabric I'm stitching this on is 14 count, or sorry, 18 count Vanilla Latte by Be Stitch Me. And it's a really pretty creamy yellow color. It's a creamy yellow color. It's really pretty. My white does not show up on it. So I pulled out some other like Ecru and 3865 and just regular white because I'm using, I had pulled B5200 and it wasn't showing. And even in her apron, it wasn't showing. So I didn't even pull out the white. I just stitched over it in 415, I think is the gray I'm going to use. And so I'm going to have to do my fence because there's two. There's a fence. They're hard to see on here anyway too, but there's a fence right here and there's one up here. And they're just not going to show my fabric. So I'm going to use the 40 or 415, I believe is what it is. But that's what I got done yesterday. And then for today, I had a new start for President's Day. And I am stitching the Early Americans charts. And I'm sure everybody has seen these. They're by Little House Needleworks. And I started in the middle, so I'm starting with the middle block. And that is what I've got done for today. Not bad. This is being stitched on 14 count Confederate Gray by Swigart. So it's just one of their base fabrics. Confederate Gray is what it's called. And I'm using the DMC called force. And I am stitching it as one, I'm going to stitch it as one big piece. And I don't think I'm going to do the border that everybody is doing on it. I think I'm just going to do it as one piece without the Vanna's border. Okay, the one other thing, this is a lot of starts for me in 3 days because I'm doing 3 starts in 3 days. So I did Valentine's Day, President's Day, and then tomorrow I am joining Lori Holt and Christy from Crosshatch Quilts in a stitch along for Lori Holt's birthday. And it is Cross Stitch Nation by Heartstring Samplery. And I had started this one time a few years ago and I just did not like the fabric I was using. So I just unkitted it and never finished it. And then when Lori showed in her, not her last video, but her video before, that she was going to start this on the 16th, I thought, well, let me see what I got. If I have everything for it, I'm going to stitch it. And anyway, and then in her last video, Christy from Crosshatch Quilts was in it. So if you haven't watched that video, you need to go and watch it. It is so good. And so good that I've watched it twice. Anyway, so this is what I'm going to stitch it on. And it's 14 count. Let me see my card. 14 count Waxing Moon by Fabric Flare. And it's not showing up. Well, kind of right there. It's kind of a tannish and it's a little bit mottled. And I have pulled out a mixture of the Call for floss and Call for DMC and Victorian model threads. So there we go. I'm staying true to the colors in the chart, just kind of using my own. Okay, that is, I think, it for cross stitching. Okay, so let's do the quilts. Excuse me, I gotta wipe my nose. Um, okay, for quilting, someone asked me how I learned how to quilt. I taught myself. Um, pretty much all my hobbies I've taught myself. So I took sewing in high school in home ec. Um, and then I took sewing in 4-H when I was younger than high school. And so I had the basic, I have the basic sewing knowledge. And I just, if you can read a pattern, I mean, the directions in most patterns are pretty good. Um, I just, if I find something, that's how I started quilting. I just found something a quilt I wanted to make, and I just read the directions on the pattern, and that's how I started. And I've learned a lot through social media, through YouTube, Facebook groups, um, my quilting retreats that I've gone to. I've learned things. I'm still learning new things. Um, so I taught myself how to quilt. Somebody asked me how many hours a week I quilt. Um, I usually quilt if when I sit down to quilt, I usually quilt for about 3 or 4 hours. Um, I only quilt when my husband is gone. I don't come in my sewing room and sew at all when he's home because he's only home 2 days a week. I want to spend it with him. Um, most weekends I do quilt during the day. I'll quilt 3 or 4 hours. On Saturdays, Sundays I don't always quilt. Sometimes I just want to sit stitch on Sundays. Um, and I usually can quilt like Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So 5 days a week, I can quilt maybe 5 days a week, probably 3 hours. So about 15 hours a week, I guess, give or take. Um, someone asked me because in my videos, usually there's my shelf with all my fat quarter bundles on it. And someone asked me um, if when I buy them, do I have an idea of what I want to make with them? And no, I don't. With cross stitch, a chart comes out, and yeah, charts do go out of print, but usually it's years down the road before they go out of print, and you can usually find them on the secondary market if they are out of print. But most cross stitch charts are pretty much readily available, right? Well, with quilting fabric, it's not that way. Um, when a line comes out that I like, I will buy a fat quarter bundle of it because they only do one printing, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Sometimes you can find it on Etsy, you know, Etsy, you can sometimes find it. Sometimes if you can locate a quilting shop that may still have a bolt of, some bolts of it or whatever. But once, if I see a fabric line I really like, I buy it because, say, 5 years down the road, I see a quilt using that fabric line, I can't find it. So fabric is not the same as cross stitch patterns. Fabric, they do one printing of it. Once in a while, they'll do more printings of it, not very often. But once it's gone, it's gone. So no, I don't have an idea of quilts I want to make when I buy the fat quarter bundles. But a lot of times when I get a fat quarter bundle, if I know a pattern I want to use for it, I'll actually like kit it up and make a kit out of it, and I'll get the background fabric and stuff so that it's ready when I get ready to make the quilt. Someone asked how much it costs for me to take my queen size quilt to the long armor and have it quilted. Okay, now for me, it doesn't seem like a lot of money because it's not something I can do at home. I have tried quilting on my domestic machine, and it just has turned out to be a disaster. And then I get frustrated, and then the quilt never gets done. It just gets stuck. Really, it just gets stuck in a tote, and I never see it again. So I do take mine to the long arm quilter. Now, that being said, I don't take my cross stitch to a professional framer. So I can justify taking my quilts to a long armor because I can lace my pictures and frame them myself, or pin them and frame them myself. And I usually buy thrift store frames. I don't spend a lot of money on my frames, because I can usually find something at the thrift store. And so I frame my own cross stitch. So I can justify spending a little bit of money to have somebody else quilt my quilts, because otherwise I would make quilt tops and they would never get quilted. Um, I don't. I know what my long armor charges. Some may be more, some may be less. I don't know. Here's my quilt for my bed. It's all done. I just need to. It's ready to go to long armors. I'm just waiting for some background fabric. Because it's a big quilt, I wanted to get a bigger cut of fabric. And I had ordered some, and it wasn't. I wanted a blue, and I was hoping it would be like this blue right here. And it wasn't. It ended up being like, this is more of like a grayish blue, and it was more of a blue, I guess, like a bright baby blue. So it's okay. I can use that for, something else. But so I ordered another piece of fabric, and hopefully it's the right color this time, and then this could go to the long arm to get quilted. I can't stand up because of where I'm sitting to show it to you, but this will give you the gist of it. So it's got some red and some blue and light blue. It's got some pink and cream. It's got a couple of these brown squares. And it's got floral in it. Here's a floral. Anyway, and what I did is I just took a 10-inch stacker, or a 10-inch layer cake. They call it layer cake stackers. And I just randomly sewed them together. So there's a string. There's no rhyme and reason how it went together. It's just a whole bunch of squares. So anyway, a quilt, a lap quilt, I pay anywhere from $100 to $200 to quilt my quilts. And they do a fantastic job. My quilter does a fantastic job. They are about, my quilter is about 6 weeks out. But there's only 2 places I know of in my town that even do it. And the other place, they're faster, but they are more money. So I'm never in a hurry to get my quilts back. So 6 weeks is fine with me. And then someone asked me, my dog is going crazy right here. Someone asked me, and he's on my quilt. I'll show this whole quilt in my next video. But someone asked me what pattern I'm going to have my long armor quilt on my quilt for my bed. And this quilt is going to show you perfectly what it's going to be. Maybe. There we go. I think this is called a feather design. I don't know. It's just a real classic design. Timeless. And the reason I'm showing on this quilt is because this one I had minky or cuddle fabric put on the back. And when you do that, you can really see the quilting. It looks so cool. So anyway, I'm going to, but I'll show this quilt. I'm in the process of finding it, so I'll show it when, um, I'll show it in my next video because I'll have it done. Okay, so that's it for today, except for the winter. I just want to say thank you for all your questions, and thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate it. I've had a lot of new people watching lately, which is really cool. And I just want to say welcome to everybody that's new. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. So the winner of Miss Baxter's house is Michelle Hardy, Hardey. So Michelle, if you will send me an email, I'll put my email address in the drop down box below. You can email me at that email address, or you can send me a message on Instagram at So Cozy Stitching, and I will put that in the description box. But if you will send me a message with your address, I will get this in the mail to you as soon as I get your address. So if I get it this week, I will get it in the mail this week. I think that's it. Hopefully I answered everybody's question, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know there wasn't a lot of progress updates and stuff, but in my next video I will do a February recap of what I've been working on for February and what I've stitched in February, and I will show my March plans. And I don't know if I'll show quilts in my next video, because I'm going to have 5 quilts and a table runner and a table topper finished by my next video. Actually, they'll be done tomorrow because I got caught up on my blocks of the month that I needed to do, and I decided before I work on anything else as far as quilting related that I was going to get some quilts binded, because I have 5, 6, 7 quilts, and I have one at the quilters right now that is ready to pick up. So I decided I needed to get some quilts done. So I can't decide if I want to, when I get these quilts done, if I want to start a new quilt, or if I want to, I have a couple more that are partially done, if I should just finish them. But so I don't know if I'll show my quilts in my next video, or if I should just do a separate video showing them. If I do them in my next video, it's going to probably be a longer video, because I'll be doing my updates and my plans. So let me know. Let me know if you think I should just do a separate video to show you those quilts completed, or if I should just include it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I get there. Maybe between now and then there'll be another video with just quilts. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Anyway, so Michelle, make sure you get a hold of me. And everybody, stay warm. I can't believe that it's crazy, because Oregon and Washington are getting like hammered with snow and ice, and Texas is getting hammered, and the Midwest, they're low temperatures, and it's crazy because we've had above average temperatures in Idaho. We have not had a cold winter. This weekend was our first really winter where it felt like winter. So anyway, everybody that's getting all these cold temperatures, stay warm. And see Mac? I think he's ready for bed. Anyway, so I will see you in a couple of weeks with an update video. Bye.